This is video 2 that covers topics related to how culture and technology intersect in today's society. The materials I'll be using for reference are Siegfried Krauker's boredom essay and Herman and Chomsky's propaganda model. As well, the content which I'll primarily be focusing on will include the culture of distractions, mass ornament, media ownership, specifically being profit motive, and the advertising filter. Kind of reaching back to the first video, the loss of aura that's been attached to information presented through technology has kind of led to a structural minefield of sorts. It has made it so any step that you could take could lead to an explosion of distractions erupting for you. And these distractions are what prevents original thought from emerging. And that's specifically what Siegfried Krauker's boredom essay covers about being in a culture of distractions. And this is just where a failure to be bored kind of just marks the success of the distraction taking a hold of you. And in turn, it prevents your original thought from emerging, keeping you kind of locked in a loop, you could say. This is dangerous in today's society as everybody has a phone in their back pocket, so their information is literally at their fingertips. And due to that, they can never truly be bored. Especially due to social media, because social media happening has just made it so you're just surrounding yourself with more of the interests which you already agree with. And therefore, it makes it so you can't be bored, so you stay distracted. Here, looking at these drawings I have and facts I have on the whiteboard, we can kind of understand that today's day and age, our phone is really the main antagonist, as this device keeps you locked in this loop of information flowing in and out of it that you're presented with. And as long as the information stays relevant to your interests, it's going to keep you distracted. And just to mark out, that's an average of 4 to 5 hours per day a human is normally on their phone, which is 16 to 21% of the day. And normally when you're consuming information in such pace, just as it's coming in and out, you're not digesting it fully. And from this, we can kind of also understand that with power comes responsibility, as since the information is at your fingertips and you know it's an interest to you, it's up to you in order to regulate that interest and regulate that information flow to you. And so here we can understand that even though information may seem valuable to us, it can still be considered a distraction if it's making us void of actual thought process. Those tiny catastrophes are not always constructive. I think it was Siegfried that said it, but I know it was in the intro. It talked about how tiny catastrophes make up our lives. I find this is kind of riding that line as tiny catastrophe could be just flow of information in and out of the device, and according to your interests, can lead to kind of like a perfectly set up distraction. And that leads you to have kind of a false sense of satisfaction of the information you gained. And in that false sense of satisfaction, I find that is what really is the tiny catastrophe. And that's what I think we can relate to mass ornament, or at least the modern days version of mass ornament, being as mass ornament's function is primarily to keep you inside the culture distractions and away from emerging original thoughts. You might even ask yourself why this trap actually exists in the first place. Well, to understand this, we can take note of these two propaganda models. The first being media ownership, specifically thinking about profit motive behind it, and second being the advertising filter. And here I kind of have the flow saying, due to profit motive, it'll lead to advertising, and which in turn, this will lead you equaling the culture of distractions, and which I've announced as the unavoidable trap, just because it's had its existence really solidified due to the profit motive leading to the advertising filter. Because in actuality, what is social media if it's not just one huge advertisement? I'm really saying that the structural mechanism that keeps you locked in the culture of distractions is not your phone itself or any physical aspect of the phone, but the aspect of profit motive from media ownership filter, as that will lead on to advertising. And we can see this just by the bottom I marked down. Social media is a $470.57 billion industry. That's huge. And I can conclude that this is guaranteed by advertising, because what is social media if it's not one big advertisement? I mean, everything is tailored towards you and tailored towards keeping you not bored, therefore not thinking, and therefore consumed in the culture of distraction. Every second you're truly bored and thinking is a chance which they cannot sell an ad or promo. So their goal is to basically just overrun you with these advertisements driven from profit motive. And this is just the system being structurally set up to kind of keep you in this culture of distractions by keeping away from the ability to be bored, keeping away from the ability to think for yourself. And just to sum it up, the fact that they keep you locked outside of boredom means that you're exposed to content that holds your interest, which means that you're not having any interest in thinking in your head, you're only viewing. And therefore, that keeps you locked in the culture of distractions. Due to the loss of original thought, there is a loss of aura attached to that. And due to this loss of aura, it means that people become kind of de-individualized, as people's interests they're not following. They're more so following the culture of distractions. And to wrap this up is kind of how we can understand mass ornament. So mass ornament is due to the de-individualization because of the loss of aura, due to the fact of the culture of distractions, keeping you from emerging an original thought. I find this is good to keep in mind for society, as it kind of helps you keep one control, and it also will control over the aspects of your life that are important, like what you're staying interested in and how you're building yourself up. But it's also important, as I find growing up in the age of social media, it was very easy to slip into rabbit holes and totally lose myself, because I would not have anything telling me really that, or letting me know that as much as I agree with these things, they're not my original thoughts. And so I believe it's really good to know this stuff, because if you don't know it, especially for an emerging mind, it can be like, say, if you really want to do music, but you're trying to write a song, then you're just like trying to think about what everybody else would write instead of what you yourself would write. So it would stop the production of your authentic self in the end. And that's why I think it's important for society to keep in mind these aspects. Thank you. That was my second video on how culture and technology intersect in today's society. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you have a good day.